The guy Isaac on the side, Isaac Rhodes loves me now. He's already trying to get me on another panel. This guy is pushing me nonstop now. He's literally nonstop getting me pushed. If I can get a couple more panelists down, we got this literally a daily thing. So we talked with Isaac here. I didn't know that Isaac was trying to trap me. He was trying to take this conversation in a way that I didn't want to take it.
I honestly don't know. It has to do something with the Discord app because right now I'm actually just doing it through the browser and it works perfectly.
All
My
right,
guess
what should I
was
call you?
Whatever. You can just call me pensive. I guess pensive is fine.
Pensive? What does pensive mean?
Pensive means like deep in thought.
Pensive? Okay.
Yeah,
Is that English?
yeah, it's English.
Where are you from?
From USA, Texas.
Why is your chat saying that you're Israeli?
Who's saying that? Where in my chat does it say that?
Or they're saying that you support Israel?
he's a psyop. He's secretly an Israeli.
Is that what I am? I'm secretly an Israeli. I guess. Even myself, I don't know. I'm so indoctrinated.
There's a trigger
Oh, you
word.
you have no idea
No.
who you support.
Well, in
You have
terms
no
of,
idea who you support in this war. Just like one statement on that.
oh, you're talking about for the Israeli-Palestinian war?
Yeah,
Uh,
it's actually Israeli and Gaza war. You know, like Israeli and the other territories. There's no Palestine. They don't recognize that.
yeah, yeah. I understand that they don't recognize it, but in terms of that whole situation, I mean, because I went through this whole day's worth of like just trying to figure out what the hell is going on because I'm very ignorant when it comes to like geopolitical issues. And honestly, I'm not really sure if I can take a stance just because it's just so fucked. The whole situation is just so
That's
messed
crazy
up.
to me. That's crazy to me that you can come up stream every day and still not have any knowledge on the situation or be able to even come up with like a conclusion, a single conclusion. That's crazy to me.
I feel because it's so dangerous to like already just like do whole sightings because I feel like no matter what it comes to, right? Especially like in political situations where like you'll just find situations where like you get pigeonholed into like taking a stance like on one thing. And I think it's important to like also be able to say like, hey, there's negatives on both sides, right?
Yeah, but do you not think that you should at least start taking the stance so you know, so you can start locating these negatives? So what I'm trying to argue to you is if you never take that stance, how can you test your arguments against the other stance? And so you actually start figuring out which stance is the one that you should be following. So even if you're not sure, you should still take a stance and start learning so you can find out. You see what I mean?
Mm.
And that's kind of where I'm going to link it to why it's important to label yourself as a political party.
I still say like no because I feel like political. Okay, I think the way it is right now, the way the system is set up, it is not a good idea to affiliate yourself with a political party because it's just you. There's just too many people that are just polarizing in like their views, right? Their ways because
Okay,
they're
so
just so
what's
stuck.
okay? So I agree with you. There's a lot of polarization. You haven't proved that it's because you claim a party. That's the polarization. Can you prove that?
I mean,
Like how do you know that if I claim a party, that's the stem of the stem of the actual disagreement, and it's not something else like a religious disagreement or a moral disagreement? How do you know it's a political disagreement specifically?
I would say probably one of the biggest arguments that I have, at least in terms of the United States, right? If I call myself a Republican, a lot of Democrats or people that are viewed liberal are gonna go ahead and just like possibly say like, hey, like you think this certain mentality like you're a Trump supporter, right? And it's gonna be the opposite. If I view myself like, hey, I'm a liberal or I am a Democrat, then a lot of typically Trump supporters will come to my chat and be like, hey, like Obama's dumb, Biden is dumb, and like they just start attacking like certain views, like no, where
I
you
know. So
place
those
yourself.
people that tell you Biden is dumb,
Mm-hmm.
when those people come to you and tell you Biden is dumb, can you respond to them because you've studied so much, because you took a stance already on what political party you're going to study, and you've argued so many of these arguments, and you've done so many debates because you've talked on the other side and you've talked with your side, and you understood finally the arguments, the perfect arguments of both sides. Could you not then come to the person telling you, hey, Biden sucks, and give him the perfect arguments to show him why Biden's amazing? Actually, maybe flip him. So what my argument here is that I think it's not only smart, it's necessary to label yourself immediately, not necessarily to everybody, but to yourself, so you can start learning and look, I agree, maybe not label yourself to everybody until you've secured your arguments, but at least to yourself, you have to take a stance. So I tested you. I asked you, do you even have a stance to one of our biggest moral issues and political issues? You have no stance. So how the hell are you going to change anybody's minds when you can't even argue when somebody comes and disagrees with you because you have no stance. You didn't even take a stance yet. You have no idea where you stand on one of the biggest issues in the world.
I think because like my main thing is that like I'm not necessarily trying to win somebody over, right? So if you're
So
starting
what are you trying to do?
just get people to
So
think.
you don't want people to agree with you? You like what I'm trying to understand, if you actually believe you are the truth, how are you not fighting every single day for everybody to agree with you? How are you not struggling, dying? I mean, what else are you spending all this time for? You just like to smile and laugh and react to videos? Like, I don't get it. Like, if you know 100% this is the truth, how is it not aching you every day that other people are not listening to you, are not agreeing with you, and that you have to actually come up with amazing arguments so you can like kind of dismantle their opinion, flawed opinions. You see what I mean?
I understand that. I get
You
where
see where I'm coming from? I'm coming from. It's actually important. Maybe not necessarily to label yourself to everybody. Yeah, I agree with that. But it's important to at least know where the hell you stand on certain issues. It's actually very important. Or you can never talk, not only to yourself and debate yourself, and to others as well.
I mean, I feel like that's why this is like actually such a good platform for me as well. Because the thing is, like, I'm going on here and I don't have like a certain stance on like a lot of things because like there's a lot of stuff that I'm not informed about. But as I'm watching these videos, going on Wiki, looking up all these articles, and just like getting more and more informed, I start seeing sides, right? Like, you start seeing the like, hey, I think
So, so what are you waiting on then? What are you waiting on? So you like, if you already have seen the sign, like I'm trying to understand. Does it take you 2 months? Is it gonna take you a year? Like, is it another 5 more years to take a stand? Like, what are you waiting on? What's the thing holding you? You need more information. You need more research. You need a little bit more time. What is it?
information, research, absolutely. It's a
Okay.
lot of different things.
Okay, so I suggest the best way to get information and research, this is how it works. You immediately look at the situation. Like, let's talk about the Moscow situation, for example. Immediately just happened. Nobody knows anything about that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Immediately you look at the first preliminary information. It says Moscow, ISIS declared that they did the attack. Then it says Moscow was attacked in a city, in a concert hall. Then it says all that we know is that Moscow was attacked. There was terrorists that claimed the attack, and it killed innocent civilians. Okay, so we start now looking backwards. So there's two states there. There's people that think, okay, it's ISIS that did it,
Mm-hmm.
because ISIS claimed that it did it. And then there's other people that looked at it. They said, okay, ISIS claimed that it did it, but let's go ahead and look deeper. We know that ISIL has been trained by U.S. soldiers and U.S. Military, because Barack Obama said it himself. He's going to speed up ISIL training of U.S. soldiers. He said it actually in a statement. Then we know that the U.S. knew about and issued an advisory warning 2 weeks before the terrorist attack, saying that there possibly could be a terrorist attack, and mentioned word for word, they said concert hold. Do not avoid concert hold. They actually mentioned concert holds, but they did mention 48 hours, which is the attack happened 2 weeks later, so a lot longer. And then so we start. You see what I mean? So you can start with one position, and then because you labeled yourself that position, you can start learning and growing and understanding, and then it's easy for you to switch, because first of all, you didn't tell anybody what your position is. So this is why I agree with you, maybe you don't have to tell anybody, but I still disagree with you that it's not important to take a position, or at least to label yourself, because that's where it starts. That's the base.
Okay, but I think one of the only things that you kind of still brought up, even like towards your argument, was that like you were still saying that like, hey, like one of the things I don't agree with you is like, why do you have to take like, why do you have to go with one side in order to be informative? Like, I didn't have to be on any side right now to be informative. Like, hell, I could have just like looked into this myself without taking a stance.
because then you're easily swayed with the first thing you read. Because the first thing you read, if you have no, okay, first of all, it's like you're asking me why is it important to know not to jump out of the roof. It's important. You have to know stuff. It's important to know stuff, first of all.
Yeah,
Even if you're not
yeah,
going to
yeah, yeah.
use it, it's important to know. Now, second of all, uh, I mean, I don't understand this statement where, so you're actually okay with not knowing things? Like, I'm not
No, no, no,
understanding.
no.
Like,
It's
you're
not.
actually totally cool with just people just fooling you and you just
No,
being an unknowledgeable person that
no.
just gets swayed
What I'm
whenever.
trying to say is like, why do you have to take a stance in order for you to know or be educated in something? That doesn't make any sense. Like, why can't I just be educated without taking a stance in something? Like, I can
Because look
still.
at you, you didn't take a stand and you're not educated on anything.
Yeah, I'm just not
You are the
educated
you
because I'm
are the
not
proof.
educated enough. That's what I'm trying to
Yeah, but
say.
other
But
people
it's not
that took a
because
stand,
I don't have a
for
stance.
example, there's Americans in sitting. They're eating Cheetos. Then they saw the Palestine conflict. They're like, "Holy shit, this is fucking wrong! What the fuck is happening?" They started reading, and now they're Muslims. You see what I mean? So, like
Who?
you can take
Who did
stand.
that?
I'm not understanding this. Like, why is it important to take a stance? Maybe I'm not understanding your point. Maybe, can you clarify it? Like, I don't know.
Like, why does it matter if I'm like, okay, like my stance, right? Like the whole thing between like Israel and, well, you said it's not Palestine, right? It's like, because they don't identify as that.
Because you will never learn over the surface until you take that stance. For example, like I told you, these Cheetos eating Americans were eating
Hello,
Cheetos.
guys.
Hey, bro, don't fucking come back here. I'm
Hi,
kicking you
hi,
out.
guys.
It's important to take a stance. Oh, other than that, you think you've done enough, but you're not doing nothing. You're eating Cheetos.
But what do you mean by doing
Until you
enough?
take a stance, you are doing nothing about the conflict, about any problem. Until you take a stance, you have done nothing about it. You haven't even started to disagree or agree with it. That's why people have to take a stand. I'm not understanding that. How can you even like why like you're kind of insulting my intellect. You're asking me why is it important for me to think about certain topics and know what's right and wrong. You're basically what you're telling me is why is it important to know right from wrong.
No, no, no. But okay, so I feel like we're probably like both. Yeah, we're probably on the same side of the coin, but we just think differently about that same side, like that same
Okay, but do
point.
you agree with me that it's really important to take a stand because the second you take stands, that's when you get up off the couch and start learning? Because the Gazans, the Americans were not taking a stance. Then they woke up, they saw Gaza, they took a stance, and now it could be the wrong stance. But what happens is another Israeli comes, argues against them, gives them a really perfect argument. They change their stance. You see what I mean? But they were sitting on the couch before they had a stance.
But
It's
that's
important to at
something
least
else
have that.
completely differently, right? Because I could take a certain stance about like, hey, like I feel like, Israel is in the right. But if I don't do anything about it, like that's still me not doing anything. Just because I
Yeah, but
believe.
if you take that stance, it at least allows other people to start educating you. So when you say Israel is not right, and then you go and argue with somebody and you say Israel is not right, then somebody's like, "Hey, you know what? I'll show you what you're wrong." And then you're like, "Holy moly!" Then you can assess, okay, what his stance was anti my stance. Is his stance the truth, or is my stance the truth? And that's how you start learning. Like, but what you're doing is you'll never learn because you're just taking the first snippet that showed up in front of you, you're reading it, you're internalizing it, and then you're shutting off your brain and moving on.
But that's not true because I mean you haven't. You
It is
just
because when I asked you about the most important
hold
conflict
on,
that
hold on, hold on, hold on. Hold on. So I'm telling you that like the reason that you're wrong is because like the thing is like what I try to do too is like I said, I'm more focused on when it comes to like US politics because I'm really not that informed when it comes to geopolitical issues. But when I start looking into US politics, not only am I looking at stuff that like hey, stuff that liberals or like I guess in a sense if I'm going extreme, like liberal propaganda is trying to push out, but then I also try to see like, hey, what exactly is going on with the Republicans? Like what is their point of view, right? There's some things that I can agree with that like hey like the liberals are getting right, but then there's some other views that it's like hey I understand where it's coming from the point of view of the Democrats. Like are they both?
how do you know
Mm-hmm.
how do you know who's right and who's wrong?
thing is, like a lot of the time in the moments, they're both wrong. The thing is, I'm more of a centrist.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So you
Wait,
actually never know who's right. You will never ever know. You'll just keep testing forever. And then if another party showed up, you like it better. It looks better
I'm
to
not a
you. You'll
party.
just jump off
I'm not a
and jump
party.
onto.
I'm not interested in the parties. Parties have no sway
For
in
a
the
lack
way
of a
that I'm
better
thinking.
word, organization, noun.
Not even
Another noun shows
organization.
up,
It's
you jump
not
off
that.
the wagon to them.
It's not that. It's not that at all. It's the individuals. The individuals that I want to listen to. It's not the
Yeah, but
political
you're not.
affiliation.
See, that's where you're flawed at. Why are you talking about individual? You should be listening to the ideas. You should be listening to the actual policies,
That's
the
what I'm
actual.
saying. That's exactly what
But
I'm
no, you're
saying.
talking about. So, no, okay, you said the people is what you wanted to listen.
Yeah, the people, not the affiliation. What does the affiliation have to do?
So when you say the people, to me, it sounded like like if somebody's cool like Trump, then that's what you're looking for. It's not you don't care
No,
about the
no, no, no,
policy.
no, 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 no. Like if someone is a Trump
Okay, so
supporter,
that's what when you
some
said the people, that's what I heard.
no, no, no. Like for me, it's like if someone is a Trump supporter, they're a Trump supporter. Okay, does that mean they're a bad person automatically? No, in my ways of thinking, right? But unfortunately, that's not the way it is. Typically, when you hear like, "Hey, someone's a Trump supporter," you're just gonna what? You're just gonna like automatically assume this kind of way of thinking about them.
That's cool. It has nothing to do with the topic of discussion.
But that's what I'm trying to
wait,
say about
No,
Maynard.
like
what
the
I'm
in.
trying to tell you is what I
Wait,
understood when you said people. I'm listening to people. That's what I understood from you. You're listening to personalities, but no, now
No,
you
not
further
personalities.
explain.
No, no, no. Yeah,
No, that's what I thought. That's
yeah.
I thought you're listening to personalities, but
No,
you
no, no.
explained you're actually listening to the policies. So So yeah, so you actually agree with me. You agree with me that it's important to stand
Yes.
on at least one side of the issue.
Yes, like I think it is important, but you have to take an educated stance. That's my thing too. You have to
Yeah,
take
but
an
yeah,
educated
so you
stance.
agree with me? Maybe not share, not label yourself outright publicly,
Yes,
but at least within yourself, internally, take a stance and start testing that stance against other stances. Do you agree with that or no?
yes,
Is that do you think that's smart?
yes, and I think that that's the way it should be. But unfortunately, my other thing is like that's not the way it is.
How do you feel like it is today?
Like I said, it's just this whole thing where it's like once you label yourself somewhere, people will already view certain kind of ways about you.
So it's if you label so you think that one some so you think these guys that label themselves Trumpers they just are like I'm not understanding they are into the personality not the policy that they're basically opposite than you.
No, no, no. I'm not even saying specifically Trumpers. Remember, it could be anybody. It could be anybody that's like labeling
Let's use
themselves
an
something.
example.
Yeah,
Let's use an example. Trump. I'm just using it as an
yeah,
example.
yeah.
We're not gonna line in like we're not digging in on them, but just as an example, it's
Sounds
a
good. Sounds good.
clear example. So Trump, or like, where do you think he's coming with his love for Trump? Is it that he likes the guy's policies? Is he, or is he just really liking that belligerent style of that? What do you think?
I think the issue that's ringing true is that like he's poking at a lot of stuff that a lot of people feel towards their government, and I think this goes across probably like across like the world, right? But that like hey, that there's corruption going on in the government because he said it. He flat out said it like there's corruption going on, and I'm the one that like I'm using the corruption as well. That's how I'm able to like influence and like
That you should take a stance. You agreed with me that's probably smart to label yourself, so you actually know the difference between right and wrong from your labels.
I still don't
So at
understand.
least you can, huh?
I still don't quite understand like what the big push is about that. Like why do you have to take a stance in order for you to be educated? You can still be educated without having to take a stance.
Bro, I asked you, you had no stances, and I asked you this the question to give me an intellectual answer about the biggest conflict of the whole universe right now, and you had no answer. You can even take a stance.
Yeah, because this whole
isn't that
situation
kind of
is
his whole argument though?
that is the whole
Isaac,
argument.
can you help him?
What's up?
Isaac, can you help him?
What do you what do you mean by help him? I think you're just having a fun. It's just an opinionated disconnect,
I mean,
right?
I'm
Like
not
we're
understanding this. Like, is
okay.
it
I can help. Okay, I got you. Manor, would you rather have a pro-Israel dig into like death numbers or a person that's not on either side?
um No, I would rather actually on the numbers. I
On if
honestly don't
would
care.
you rather all the data? So would you? So you accept data
I
from
actually want
pro-Israel
data from
sources?
both sides. I would rather have data from both sides, and I want to compare them with each other, so I know which one is lying, which one is the truth, so I can actually in the
Yeah.
future. Uh,
Exactly. So you should.
Yes.
So you take it from both sides. So you shouldn't label yourself from one side and take everything from one side. That's his
yeah,
point.
okay, so that's what we're talking about. So, but you still label yourself. So you still say, "Hey, I think this is wrong," and then you start understanding. Okay, so they killed 30,000. Let's see how they killed it. Let's see if they actually were justified in doing that or so. They say they're justified. I'm saying they're wrong. Let me see if I'm wrong, and then you look at the actual facts of the matter, and then you compare with each other. But you have to actually have a stance. If you're just looking at the facts, you just believe anything that one party says, then you're going to look at the other party, which contradicts completely, and you're going to be like, well, I read that first, so I don't care anymore about the second party because I this is the first thing I read, and I have no stances, and this is the thing I'm going to believe immediately. You
But
see
this,
what I mean?
but I feel like that typically
Kind of,
happens when
but
you take a stance. When you take the stance,
yeah.
that's how you feel because you feel like a
But
certain way
okay, well,
towards something.
I'm arguing that that's what happens when you don't take a stance. You just take the first argument as face value because you
No.
have no actual
No,
intellectual. You never actually argued, never actually intellectually tested
no, you're
any
just.
of those arguments.
I feel like
Okay,
at this point
Manor,
you're just making
who's
assumptions.
yeah, who's more likely to take a pro-Israel source and just take it full-heartedly? Would it be someone
Okay,
who labels
do you
himself
think?
as pro-Israel or someone who labels himself on either side?
Let me
Who
ask you
would
this:
rather be biased?
do you think a person that is Israeli is gonna agree? Is gonna man? What the fuck?
It was mega. I don't know. Bro going crazy. You going Super Saiyan.
All right, what I'm trying to say is it's important to have a stance. So look, if you just don't have a stance, you're going to take the first information that any source gives you. It doesn't matter because you don't know anything because you never actually studied anything.
But that's not true.
You have to have a stance so you
Wait,
can actually get up and study.
who's more likely to take Fox News at the first news thing they post without any background information? Would it be a Republican or would it be someone who's labeled as non-political on either side?
Like, give me an example.
No, that
Like,
is the
give me
example.
That
something
That
they
is
would
the
example.
say and
example.
who
If
would
a
That
believe
is
it.
news,
the
if a
example.
news, yeah, if like okay, so when it came to the Moscow thing, right? When the first thing that dropped on Fox News, a Republican is going to take that at face value without doing any background information, any background checks. And but
Hmm.
if someone is on no political spectrum on either side, they're going to be like, okay, let's look at Fox News, look at CNN, let's
Hmm.
Google, let's go to Twitter. So when you don't
Exactly.
label yourself, you give yourself more opportunities to take in more sources that could be biased, but as long as you take in multiple biased sources on different sides and non-biased sources, it leads you to a better conclusion. I think we could all agree.
Yes.
Yeah, but you're assuming that the Republican has the stance because he's Republican,
No,
not
no, no,
because he's
no, no, no,
read
no.
and learned
Most
and
of
studied.
No, that's not it at
No, what I'm saying is
all.
though is he labels himself as a Republican. So when he sees that Republican name under a article or a under a source, when he sees that label that he ascribes himself onto another thing, he gives it some validity or some authority because it has that label.
Okay, well, my argument is somebody that has no stance, has no ability to even give any validity to it, but he's still going to do it because he has no other ideas on what happened. Like basically, we could argue the same thing on somebody that has no label at all.
Yeah, but
We
we
can
can.
say that he just showed up, watched a CNN episode, but because he has
But hold
I
on,
don't know,
Manar. At
CNN
that
told him
point,
to not like Trump, he doesn't like Trump now.
Manar.
That
At
that
that
is
point, you're
true, but
just
who do you think is
arguing to
more likely to
argue.
do that?
You're just arguing to argue at that point. That's all you're doing.
No, I'm using his exact argument against him.
Yeah, okay, but wait, who do you think is more likely though to take one source at face value when it comes to a political side? Do you think it's like a Republican or a Democrat, or do you think it's someone who labels himself as like a
Sure,
progressive or a libertarian or like one of those third parties where they're not on either side?
you're right. Like they could, if they are, for example, if they are a Republican, they'll watch Fox News, and if they're liberals, they'll watch CNN. But I'm not clear on how that makes your point.
The point is that they're not taking in other sources, so the conclusion they come to is a very biased conclusion, and that is the danger of labeling yourself as one of the sides. Where if you are labeled as you go and take in multiple sources of information, and you're not on either one of those sides, you get to a more better conclusion when it comes to like mainstream media or things that could be biased when it comes to like culture. Like I don't know what's going on, right? Bud Light going down, but then they got the UFC deal. Republicans all thought it was over for Bud Light because that's what they were hearing, but the stock, even the stock plummeted. They just got a really good deal. Stock went back up. And the reason they never got to that conclusion, though, and the reason they never reported on that is because they were biased from already that side.
Yes.
That was just a very specific example, but I know you like examples.
Manar, can I see your hairline?
Do not diss his hair; it's beautiful.
Yeah,
You should
be
have been here a
careful,
week
man.
ago.
If you actually want this how I look, it's you're gonna fall really, really flat.
Is that
Anyways,
in a good way or a bad way?
anyways, so I agree with you, Isaac. Like break this argument yet. My stance is it's not only smart, it's necessary to label yourself because that's what starts your commitment to learning and growing. You start with that one side, you're right. And you're more susceptible to take information from that one side. But what happens is because you have such a clear picture of that one side, now when somebody comes and argues on the other side, you can actually start comparing that with your side. And because you have a clear picture on your side, now you have a clear picture on the whole perspective of the whole argument. And that's extremely important because then you can actually create the right choices and opinions. Now, the only thing I agree with you is I don't think we should do it publicly until we're 100% sure where we are. We should test out our arguments. We should test out and debate them. But we will never even start to debate any argument, is what I'm trying to tell you guys, if you don't have a stance. Because what happens is the first piece of information you get in your head, you're going to believe it. And then you're going to just shut off. And that's what happened with people from in the thing. What happened is the first thing they got in their head, they immediately, like for example, the Gazans and the Israelis, the first thing they got in their head, they never were actually committed. They never had put any time into learning about this conflict, even though it's a 100-year-old conflict. So the first information from whichever side they were living on, immediately they believed it. You see what I mean? Whereas if they were actually involved, whereas if they were actually at least completely committed, you're right. They might be persuaded by one side, but at least if I come and stand against them and I give them my full arguments and they fail, not only them but also their viewers will start questioning if are they the right stance? Should I be following them? Should I be behind them? They have no foundation to stand upon. See, this is my argument.
True, but I think you're just fundamentally I think you're connecting involved with being involved does not mean you're labeled as a side. You can be involved in a topic without being labeled on that topic. And then if you aren't involved in that topic, it's better to be unlabeled because like think about this. Think about if you had a pro-Palestinian that couldn't even like point on a map where Palestine is, you do not want them, you know what I mean, fighting for your side, right? If they don't even understand the topic, they don't even know the history, they don't even know what
You're
happened
right,
in
but if I don't know
1967.
what
Hold on,
stance,
Manar. Hold
I
on,
don't know
Manar.
what side he's
Manar.
on.
Manar, we gave you
All
that whole time to talk. Hold up. Let Isaac
right,
finish.
go ahead, go ahead. I think he was done, but you're right. But
Cover the doors.
my part is if you don't even know what stance he's on, how are you gonna even talk to him? You don't even know what to talk to him about.
Okay.
You're just gonna give him you're just gonna give him your perspective, and he's just gonna believe it because he has nothing else to say. So
Okay.
it's important. You have to actually label yourself as something and take stance so you can actually learn it. And so I think that's what happened. I think these people didn't take a stance. Now the first thing the government told them, they immediately believed it, and now
Wait,
they're just going with the whims of whatever the first piece of information they hear.
Manar, like
if they got the first piece of information and then they believed it instantly, what happens next?
they take a stance. They
Then
take a stance.
exactly, they take a stance, and then they start arguing with other people. They're
But
saying,
then, but
"Hey,
then, but wait. But then the people who take that information and look for more information, what do they do next?
what do you mean? No, you argue with the other stance. So you took a stance. Now you look for other people from the other side and see if your arguments stand against them. And if they do, then you're on the right path. And if they're not, then you start learning and educating yourself and growing. But if you don't have anything to label on, you're just being swayed with whatever whoever tells you what.
Manar, real quick.
And
So
that's
like,
the danger of.
And
okay,
my
so
question is, no, the
Manar,
problem is I
Manar,
proved it. I
hold
proved
on,
that this
Manar.
guy is a streamer. I proved that this guy's a streamer. He does this. I don't know for a living or not, but he does this a lot. He spends a lot of time here, and he does a lot of politics of U.S. But he has no stance on the Israeli conflict. So he has no knowledge about the Israeli conflict at all. I
Manar,
tested it.
hold on. So I've always pointed this out. I live in USA, right? So most of the stuff that I've been learning about, that I'm educated about, is literally about United States. That's where I live in. So yes, that's where I'm educated. Is geopolitically, I've mentioned it before. I don't know what the hell is going on. And that's
And I thought you can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
All right, so my argument, final argument, nice. Everybody, we heard everybody's opinions, okay? So this is my final argument, and I haven't heard somebody explain, like break this argument yet.
Mm,
My stance is it's not only smart, it's necessary to label yourself because that's what starts your commitment to learning and growing. You start with that one side, you're right, and you're more susceptible to take information from that one side. But what happens is because you have such a clear picture of that one side, now when somebody comes and argues on the other side, you can actually start comparing that with your side. And because you have a clear picture on your side, now you have a clear picture on the whole perspective of the whole argument. And that's extremely important because then you can actually create the right choices and opinions. Now, the only thing I agree with you is I don't think we should do it publicly until we're 100% sure where we are. We should test out our arguments. We should test out and debate them, but we will never even start to debate any argument, is what I'm trying to tell you guys, if you don't have a stance. Because what happens is the first piece of information you get in your head, you're gonna believe it, and then you're gonna just shut off. And that's what happened with people from in the thing. What happened is the first thing they got in their head, they immediately, like for example, the Gazans and the Israelis. The first thing they got in their head, they never were actually committed. They never had put any time into learning about this conflict, even though it's a 100-year-old conflict. So the first information from whichever side they were living on, immediately they believed it. You see what I mean? Whereas if they were actually involved, whereas if they were actually at least completely committed, you're right. They might be persuaded by one side, but at least if I come and stand against them and I give them my full arguments and they fail, not only them but also their viewers will start questioning if are they the right stance? Should I be following them? Should I be behind them? They have no foundation to stand upon. See, this is my argument.
True, but I think you're just fundamentally I think you're connecting involved with being being involved does not mean you're labeled as a side. You can be involved in a topic without being labeled on that topic. And then if you aren't involved in that topic, it's better to be unlabeled because like think about this. Think about if you had a pro-Palestinian that couldn't even like point on a map where Palestine is, you do not want them, you know what I mean, fighting for your side, right? If they don't even understand the topic, they don't even know the history, they don't even know what
You're
happened
right,
in
but if I don't know
1967.
what
hold on,
stance,
Manar. Hold
I
on,
don't know what
Manar.
side he's
Manar.
on.
Manar. We gave you
All
that whole time to talk. Hold up. Let Isaac
right,
finish.
go ahead, go ahead. I think he was done. But you're right. But
You can go.
my part is if you don't even know what stance he's on, how are you gonna even talk to him? You don't even know what to talk to him about.
Okay.
You're just gonna give him you're just gonna give him your perspective, and he's just gonna believe it because he has nothing else to say. So
Okay.
it's important. You have to actually label yourself as something and take stance so you can actually learn it. And so I think that's what happened. I think these people didn't take a stance. Now the first thing the government told them, they immediately believed it, and now
Wait,
they're just going with the whims of whatever the first piece of
if
information they hear.
Manar, like
if
you're
they got the first piece of information and then they believed it instantly, what happens next?
they take a stance. They take
Then
a stance.
exactly, they take a stance, and then they start arguing with other people. They're
But
saying,
then, but
"Hey,
then, but wait. But then the people who take that information and look for more information, what do they do next?
what do you mean? No, you argue with the other stance. So you took a stance. Now you look for other people from the other side and see if your arguments stand against them. And if they do, then you're on the right path. And if they're not, then you start learning and educating yourself and growing. But if you don't have anything to label on, you're just being swayed with whatever whoever tells you what.
Manar, real quick.
And
So
that's the
like,
danger of
And
okay,
my
so
question is, no, the
Manar,
problem is I
Manar, hold
proved
on,
it. I
hold on,
proved that this
hold
guy
on.
is a streamer. I proved that this guy's a streamer. He does this, I don't know for a living or not, but he does this a lot. He spends a lot of time here and he does a lot of politics of US, but he has no stance on the Israeli conflict. So he has no knowledge about the Israeli conflict at all. I
Manar,
tested it.
hold on. So I've always pointed this out. I live in USA, right? So most of the stuff that I've been learning about, that I'm educated about, is literally about United States. That's where I live in. So yes, that's where I'm educated. Is geopolitically, I've mentioned it before. I don't know what the hell is going on. And that's why I take my time to learn. That's why I don't have a stance. Like, why should I take a stance in something that I'm not educated enough in? Like that's so crazy. Why should I already put myself in some kind of stance already where people are gonna come at me question me when I don't even know what the hell's going on. Why? How is that smart?
Because,
How is that a good thing? I'd
because
rather just be
okay,
educated, take the
then
time to
then you will
learn, and
never.
then go ahead and take
It's like
stance.
perpetually being used by this, and I don't know
So
why.
then you will never
Wrong
ever,
idea.
you will never ever be able to actually talk to anybody or actually fix any kind of conflict in your region
I
at all.
can't fix any conflict right now because I'm not
I actually
educated
believe you
enough.
can. I actually believe you can. Like I proved it to Isaac, man. Only humans can do things in this universe, man. That's why we have free will. Only humans can do the things in the universe. So you actually every action you do changes this universe. What are you talking about?
What are you
I mean,
talking
that's not
about? Like,
entirely true
when did
though.
I say anything like that? When did I ever disagree about like
Also true, yeah, that is a very weird argument to make
what
that
the
has no
hell did I
connection to
just?
what he just
What
said.
was that? What were
No,
what?
you're saying nobody can make it changes in the conflicts. You're saying nobody you have no power to change anything,
Who
right?
said
That's
that?
what you just
When did I say that?
said. You said, why do I wanna? Why do I care if I have no power to fix any conflict? That's literally what you just said.
When?
When I told you if you don't educate yourself and take stance, you will never be able to fix any conflicts in your region. You said, well, why do I care about fixing any conflicts? Or why do I have to fix conflicts? I'm telling you, you as a human being, you are the only piece on earth that's allowed to change this earth. So every action you do is actually affecting the earth. So yeah, you can change, you can actually fix conflicts. What are you talking about?
Manar, I'm literally trying just to remember where the hell I even said that. I don't remember ever bringing that up. You're making wild assumptions. You're literally putting words in my mouth right now.
I said, if you don't take a stance, how can you fix any conflicts in your region? You said, I don't remember if you said, I don't care or I don't want to fix any conflicts
Is
in the region.
What?
it sounds like you're not listening to like what he
So then
here
what did he
actually
say? What did
let's
he
just
say?
go back. Yeah, let's just go back.
Just
Repeat
go
yourself
back.
just so he can clear it. And also I was gone.
So I said, you cannot fix any problems in your region if you don't take a stance. So what did you say?
I'm saying, why do you have to take a stance in order for you to make an like? If there's a policy that I see that is wrong, it doesn't matter like what stance it's in. If it's and where it falls on the political spectrum, it doesn't matter. If I see that it's wrong because I'm being
So
educated,
this is
right? But what does that have to
okay.
do
So
with
I think
anything
this
with
is
taking a stance? It's just that the whole whatever is being brought up, the situation, the topic, the policy, whatever it is, right? I can say like, hey, this is how I feel about a certain ways about this topic, okay? But it doesn't necessarily mean
okay.
I have to fall into any stance. I'm not pro this, pro like I have certain things about me, right? My morals that's like, hey, I'm pro this, I'm pro that, right? But I'm not falling into any specific title that I'm putting myself in.
Okay, interesting, interesting. I mean, I kind of agree with you because if we have people that are labeling themselves, but I think we have a little bit of a misunderstanding here. I think what it is we keep saying calling them Republicans, and they're watching the Fox News. Is it possible that these are people that had no stance and they watched Fox News and because of that now they're Republican?
Wasn't that our point?
Yeah.
Wasn't our point that an unlabeled person that takes that and goes to that way is the wrong person, the bad person? Isn't that what we don't
But
want?
my point was that that's why it's important to immediately take a stance and label yourself as one side of the conflict so you can actually argue and debate against that. But because you never labeled yourself, the first piece of information you heard from an authority source, you believed, and now you're just running with it wild and you believe the other side's completely
So then,
against that.
Manar,
But
that's
you
why I'm
never
saying,
actually debated.
Manar, but that's why I'm
But
saying that like you're getting it incorrect. You're getting it incorrect by believing that like someone who doesn't take any stance can just be so like influenced by just one stance. But that's what I'm trying to tell you is that like, hey, I don't have a stance and I take multiple. I just look at multiple views, multiple stances, which typically it usually is only two, right? That's just how it is in U.S. politics, you know. But I'm just saying, I look at multiple sources and then I try to figure out like, hey, what's going on? And there
All
are
right,
some situations where it's like you just can't take a stance because it's like both sides are just fucked.
I'll tell you why I have a problem with this position that you're holding. It's because basically when you say that, I just hear the word centrist, and centrism never leads you to anywhere. You can never get anything done with centrism.
But wait, he said that entire thing you just said was about how he doesn't put a label onto himself, and then your next
Yeah,
response
so
was
he's sitting
putting a label
in the middle.
onto him.
Yeah, he's sitting in the middle. He has no real side to go on, and he's just he just is hearing from both sides, but he's really not involved in any way, and he's sitting right in the middle, and because he's not on this side or on that side, and so I don't know, so what I'm hearing is centrism. Am I wrong?
Kind of centralist. When somebody's a centrist, it doesn't mean they don't have political opinions either way. It means that the political opinions they have put them where that is specifically. So there
Yeah,
is a
so
label.
my point is centralism leads you nowhere. You're never going to be able to fix any conflicts
No, no, no,
sitting right there in the
no.
middle.
So centralism isn't the issue. It's more so like the how people feel apathetic, or people that are very cynicist or cynics. I don't know exactly the correct term or word for that. I'm probably saying it wrong. But basically, who don't do anything, yes, those are wrong. But you could still find people who are Republicans or who label themselves liberals or anything, and they also don't do anything. So that's the main issue: is the people that don't do anything. It's not the people that fall into any sort of spectrum. It's just literally that's who you're getting mad at. But you're labeling the people that are typically centrist or don't do anything. That's what you're getting at. That's what you're angry at.
Yeah, so that's what I'm telling you. So when you tell me is that I sit right in the middle of every issue,
Yeah. Uh huh.
and then I start learning. To me, I hear the word centrist, and to me, it seems like you're never actually benefiting your society in any way. Like it's true, it's better to at least not be negative to the society, so at least you're benefiting in that way. But you're sitting right in the middle, and I know what centrism is. Centrism leads nowhere. It's just
But
you are just swayed with whoever is the strongest political side, and you're just gonna have to be forced to follow it in the end, anyways.
that's because of other things that are going on. Like that's not just centrist fault, right? That's also like other people that take advantage of whatever system that's being played into. It's not that's not the centrist fault, you know? It's I mean, you can't just blame it on one thing. Like you're literally just like right now what's going on, like you're taking assumptions and you're just running with it.
I also feel
All
like
right,
there's a
let's.
general misconception going on because I think he has opinions. I think if you asked him, hey, like, what is it? I forgot. I'm just gonna call you Blur because that's easier. Blur, you have opinions on topics, right?
Yes.
Okay, you just don't. The problem is though is the way his opinions are viewed is that he doesn't view himself in the bubble of what like a Republican is and what a Democrat is.
Yes.
He does take stances. He's not taking a label that when you say you have that label ascribes you a bubble of stances because he doesn't fit all of those. That's
I
all he's
think
saying.
that's probably the
Okay,
best way
well, let's
to
talk
explain
about.
it. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about why that's bad then. Why do you think that's bad to label yourself?
It's not. No, no, no. Sorry, it's not directly bad. Wait, you came into this argument saying that what he doing was bad. He was defending his side. He never said that your side was bad or labeling was bad. He was just defending his side.
Well, my side is saying that, and I asked him, and he kind of proved it. My side is saying that you, as a person that's sitting with no label, you have no benefit to the society in any way. You might as well not exist because you have no solutions to some of the biggest conflicts and some of the biggest problems that are happening to your society. Why the hell are you even existing in the society? You either label yourself and start trying to work on solutions and try to talk with the other side and try to find solutions, or get out. What are you doing right in the middle,
Well,
sitting down and listening to
but Manar,
your society crumbling all around you, and you're just sitting there? Well, I don't know. I'm not sure.
but
That's
Manar,
my argument.
no, no, Manar. So that's the thing, right? Is that like once again, you kind of just said it. Why can't I find a solution without having to? I like that's the thing that I'm trying to get at, right? Why do I have to label myself as something in order to find solutions? I can still
Because nobody
advance.
can follow you. Nobody can follow you. Nobody can grow. You can never grow a movement except if you label yourself so people can know what you are so they can argue against the people that are against you. It's not only for you, it's for others, your
Okay.
viewers, it's for your movements, for your culture,
All
for
right.
your whole community.
All right. Here's an example. This is kind of like I feel like this is a pretty decent example, right? I can go ahead and say Pizza Hut makes the best pizza. All right? That
Cap.
is where I'm going with. All right. Pizza Hut makes the best pizza. do I call myself a Pizza Huttist at that point? Or what do I label myself for saying that Pizza Hut is the best pizza?
You say I'm the best pizza maker, then the other pizza store
No,
comes
no,
to
no, no,
you,
no, no,
say
no.
no, I'm the best
What?
pizza maker. Then you do a big tournament, and whoever gets is the best pizza maker has been proven to be the best pizza maker. And now everyone's gonna go to that pizza maker. That's what happens. You label yourself first, then you get opposition, then you win against the opposition, and now you grow an amazing following, an insane amount of following.
That's not what I was trying
I'm
to
telling
get
you,
at.
it's
No.
not only smart, it's necessary.
No, but that's not what I was trying
Okay.
to get at.
Yeah, no, his point was that just because he has a view that is subscribed to a certain party doesn't mean he has to join that party. And also, I've been taking notes as you talk because you say a lot of claims and I have to go through them. Viewers don't have to follow what he is saying, and I would even believe that Blur probably doesn't say that his viewers should follow everything he believes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So whenever you're saying he has to take a stance or his viewers don't know what to believe, it's not on it's that's the burden of that is not on him to inform his viewers on every issue. As well as when it comes to politics, there's not really an objective truth. That's why your hypothetical didn't really fit there, right? There isn't a way to. Oh, actually, in that situation, there isn't a way to determine what's the best pizza, right? Two people are gonna have different opinions.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay, sure, sure, but that doesn't mean okay. So you're understanding it wrong. So what I'm understanding, they don't have to follow him, but he has viewers. They don't no they have they like he has to take a stance so the people that are looking at him know what the hell they're looking at. If he doesn't take a stance, they're just seeing a person yelling and shouting, and they don't know if he's like where is he, like they don't know how to relate to him. He has to label himself as something so they can relate to him. That's what I mean follow. They don't have to follow exactly his actual ideas, but they have to actually follow along with what he's talking about, so they can actually, when the other side comes, they can actually recognize that that's the other side. That doesn't just look like another really sweet talking guy that can really persuade them again. You see what I mean? He has to label himself so the other side can recognize him and his own side can recognize him. Not you see? That's what I mean by following.
But he doesn't have his own side. And also, when you say relate to him, there's 100 different ways
To me,
people can relate
his
to
viewers
someone.
side.
I know, but sorry, okay, okay, yeah. And then whenever you say relate to him, there's 100 different ways people can relate to other people. I have like you would agree you have friends that you relate to that you don't relate to politically, but that doesn't mean you don't relate to them any less.
Yeah, but no, no. This is what you don't understand. Is I actually ask him certain questions when they tell me, for example, if they tell me if I ask him for example, what do you think about Israel? And he tells me, I don't know. I have no stance on this. I'll look down upon him. I have no respect for him. This guy is intellectual. I cannot take this guy seriously. See what I mean? I can't even argue against his points. You know, I can't even agree or disagree with him. I just don't take him seriously. I kick him out. This is what I tell you. Society doesn't need you. That's why when I hear what you're talking about, don't take stands, don't label yourself. I hear centrism. Society doesn't need that. But instead, if he tells me, for example, if I ask my relative and he says, "Fuck, man, I totally agree with what Israel is doing," I'll be like, "Hey, okay, man, brother, come, let's sit down. Would love to have a talk with you. Let's talk about October 7th. Do we agree with that or not?" At least now I can actually talk to him. Even if I disagree with him, I can talk. But if somebody's not labeling himself, what the hell's the use of talking to him? I don't know. I don't have a stance on this. It's none of my business. Oh,
Manar,
get the hell out of the house, man.
Manar, but when it comes to that specific like example that you're giving, like you can still have a conversation with me because the whole point is that like, hey, like okay, if you're getting to the you can go ahead and still inform me of things and maybe I can start leaning more towards you. That's absolutely fine. Like I don't understand what that issue is. Like just because I said like what, you think I'm not educated enough to like
Yeah, when you tell me I don't have a label, I see you as a non-serious person. I see you as a person that I don't have to waste my time with. I see you as a person that doesn't need to be swayed in any way because you had all this time to create the personality and you have no personality. Get the fuck out of my house. Literally, that's what I'm saying. At least tell me you disagree with me so I can take you seriously. So I know at least this guy intellectually challenged some of these ideas. Maybe we can actually get to a point of at least disagreement. But when you tell me I don't know, I don't care, or this is none of my concern, or
okay.
I would not like to label myself as this or that. I look at you as a non-serious person. Why the hell am I even wasting my time with you?
Because the
You don't
thing
even know. To me, it seems like you don't even want to know about
okay,
my
so
opinions.
Manar, I think like mainly most of the stuff that I get into where I would probably like mainly have like a lot of back and forth with certain people is like it's because I'm not looking at the whole, right? I'm not saying like, hey, am I pro-Israel or pro-Palestine? I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at like, hey, what's all the things that are adding up to like this whole conflict? Then we can have the conversation about that. Let's have let's discuss the topics. Let's just discuss the debates about everything that's going on versus Palestine versus Israel. I'm not taking a stance right now,
This is why
but
this is
I
why
can
I say
have
it's not only
conversations
smart but
about things in the
necessary.
middle.
Your argument is why I say it's not only smart but necessary to label yourself, because you cannot do that with every human being on earth. You cannot sit there, re-understand the whole issues from the beginning. You have to at least take his side, and if he's wrong, educate him, embarrass him so he can switch, and if he's right, go with it. But to sit there in every single conflict and every single situation start talking about the whole history of the conflict and start understanding every side, for all from the beginning, without using any of the preconceived notions that you guys have lived through your society with, that's very, it's you're never gonna do anything. It's so time consuming. You have to immediately
It's time
accept
consuming,
what
but
he
it's
says.
necessary. It's necessary. It's the only way that you can
That's
really
why I tell you, labeling
take
yourself is
arguments.
necessary, so it's not time consuming. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you made my point. Thank you.
What?
It's necessary because it's so time consuming. Whereas at least somebody that disagrees with you, you know where he's standing. Now you can immediately give the most important arguments to him, and he can disagree with you. Then you can be like, oh man, this guy is non serious. I'm not going to even give him a thing.
I think that's
But
kind
at
of.
least
I feel like that's
at
kind of
least you would
insinuating.
know that you talk to him. But a guy that doesn't care, you don't even know if he even registered the information in his head. You don't
Manar,
know.
there's literally even a reason why like when there's two parties that are involved, there's someone that stands in the middle to help with that compromise. There's a whole point that like that's pretty much kind of like how I view myself, right? It's like I'm taking in information
But
from both
he's
sides.
usually there. He's usually there to expand definitions, and so the conversation can move. So basically, he finds positions of conflict that two people cannot agree with, and he just kind of expands upon that so the conversation can flow. But he's not sitting there telling this guy you're right and wrong. He's letting them talk, and they themselves figure out the solution from that. But he's the moderator. I understand what you're trying to say, but he does something different. You know, what I mean, he's only moving the conversation forward. He's not trying to. It's not
But
like, oh my God, there's
is
no
the
way these guys can have a
okay?
conversation. No, that's not how it is.
But Manar,
There's a lot of debates where you
yeah, the
don't.
way I'm seeing it, though, is the moderator a bad thing then? Is being a moderator bad?
No,
No. Okay. So then you should be okay with the way
I
I
think
am.
it's important.
Yeah, then you should be okay with the way I am, the way I think.
Yeah, but don't act like you're gonna come and change the society. Don't act like you're actually helping
Who
anybody when
said
you do that.
that? You're
Has he ever
literally.
made that
You're
claim?
When did
you're
I say
fixing the
that?
conversation, yeah, but don't act like you actually fix the conflict. Who's fixing the conflict is the people that are talking about it, not you. You're sitting in the middle.
Has he
Manar,
ever
Exactly
made
why I
the
when
told
did
you
I
it's
claim that he
necessary.
does
say
that?
this? When did I say this? When did I quote me on this? Please send me a clip of when
You
I said
literally
this.
just reference yourself as the moderator, the guy that sits right in the middle, that doesn't do anything in the debate, that just sits in the middle of the debate.
But you
You
literally just
literally
said that
just
the moderator does do something and he has some influence in what's going on.
he's important in the debate, but not important for the conflict resolution. He's not important to post debate. He's not important at all. Nobody goes and checks on what the moderator thinks past the debate. They go and follow the one of the two arguments.
Shout out Lex Friedman.
Okay, that makes no sense. I feel like you're like one of those people that say like only certain presidents fix the issue, but the people had nothing to do with it. When it's like the people had something to do with it, they had a huge play. Like it takes literally like a bunch of people to like make change. It isn't just one person, right? It's not just one person that does everything. They're not in charge of the whole world, or
Okay, but you have to agree with me then that it's then you agree with me. It's necessary and smart to label yourself, because even oh, you're right. Moderator is important, but it's also important to debate and to have those two sides. Then you just agreed with me, right, Isaac? He just agreed with me. He said the moderator is important, and also the two sides are extremely important, because then what the fuck is the moderator important for? It's because those two sides are extremely important.
Yeah, but he's never once claimed that the two sides aren't important. He's claimed that his side is, and then you came in and targeted him and said
My
his side
argument
isn't.
is labeling yourself is smart and necessary. He said it's not.
Yeah, and what he is saying
You have
is the moderator is an unlabeled third party, and you
yes.
both agreed that is important.
actually
Thank
even
you,
the moderator
thank
is
you.
labeled. Prove to me the moderator is
They're not. No,
unlabeled.
they can't be. They can't be on a
He's
particular side of an
unbiased.
argument. Yeah,
He has
which
to
means they're
label himself
unlabeled.
as unbiased. He has to label himself. He has to label himself as the person that doesn't know nothing about the conflict. That's literally what he has to label himself.
So I mean, if you want to get like semantical, yeah, I guess he labels himself as the person who's unlabeled. But I mean, yeah, but that's unlabeled.
No, he's not only that, as the person that doesn't know anything about the conflict. That's what he labels himself as.
Someone being the moderator doesn't mean they're
When you watch the
knowledgeable on
screen,
the
do you
topic.
think he knows about the conflict, or he's trying to learn about it?
He's there just to ask questions. Where do you think he gets the questions from?
They're important for it's because that's then what the fuck is the moderator important for? It's because those two sides are extremely important.
Yeah, but he's never once claimed that the two sides aren't important. He's claimed that his side is, and then you came in and targeted him and said
My
his side
argument
isn't.
is labeling yourself is smart and necessary. He said it's not.
Yeah, and what he is saying
He had-
is the moderator is an unlabeled third party, and you
Yes.
both agreed that is important.
Actually, even the moderator is labeled. Prove to me the moderator is
They're not. No,
unlabeled.
they can't be. They can't be on a
He's
particular side of an
unbiased.
argument. Yeah,
He has
which
to
means they're
label himself as
unlabeled.
unbiased. He has to label himself. He has to label himself as the person that doesn't know nothing about the conflict. That's literally what he has to label himself.
So I mean, if you want to get like semantical, yeah, I guess he labels himself as the person who's unlabeled. But I mean, yeah, but that's unlabeled.
No, he's not only that, as the person that doesn't know anything about the conflict. That's what he labels himself as.
Someone being the moderator doesn't mean they're
When you watch the
knowledgeable
screen,
on the
do you think
topic.
he knows about the conflict, or he's trying to learn about it?
He's there just to ask questions. Where do you think he gets the questions from? Where do you think whenever he asks this specific example,
Because he doesn't know anything. That's why
Whenever
he's
he
having
asked
questions.
him,
Because he's
then-
trying to learn. He has no idea about the topic. He has no. He sits. He has no understanding of the topic.
But it's not even that. Like the moderator's job is also just to like try to influence the other party to like see the other side, right? That's the moderator's job. Like that's literally the person in the middle. He's like trying to like that.
Yeah,
the
he's
whole thing about
he's there
moderating is-
furthering the conversation. Sure.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, he
Yeah.
furthers the conversation.
Yeah,
You can even make the claim that one of the moderators is the most important part of the debate because while you can always find people who are pro-Israel and pro-Palestine, it's very difficult to find someone who could sit in a conversation like that and not be either.
Yes.
No, you cannot make the argument because the moderator would not be needed if there's no two parties to debate. That means you
Yeah,
need
but
the
he's
two
not-
parties first.
No.
No, they're more important than him because you need the two
I know,
parties.
but I think you're missing the point is that we're not. I think I'm just assuming. I think we're both on the same side. We're not claiming that those two sides don't matter. We are just claiming that the moderation does. And then you thought this. This is the entire claim that we are fighting.
No.
Talking about.
Okay, let's hear it. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Your claim was that the moderation or the third party or the unlabeled person isn't important and is actually a bad part about society, a bad part. You say it's dangerous. You say they're unlabeled. You say they're unknowledgeable. You said they follow stuff without information. He's claimed the exact opposite. And now we've moved you to the third party is important, but the other side is just important. And
For
we
the
agree
debate,
with you.
not for the resolution of any conflict.
But that's not what the
I guess
initial
you're right.
claim
I guess
wasn't that though.
It's during the resolution.
Okay, but to act like both, like, okay, so let's say, okay, one moderator is important. Sure, I'll give you that. One unbiased opinion is important. Sure.
I would even say it's the most important depending on certain things. Because, like, let's say this: we bring Israel and Palestine to the table during the Oslo. It was the Oslo. Which one was with Bill Clinton? Never mind.
Yeah,
I think it was Oslo. Okay, I could be wrong. During the Oslo Accords, right? Israel and Palestine, or what you say, Gaza, would have never even went to the table if it wasn't for the moderator being America being there. You understand that, right? That's just a very nuanced position, but you understand that, right?
Sure.
So we agree that without the moderation, that is that for that specific instance, at least, not for the general overview, for that specific instance, the moderation was the most important part here.
Okay, can you agree with me that the moderator, but then that proves to me because the moderator did not come up with a solution to that conflict.
That wasn't the issue. The issue was that the two sides were just too politically and like they couldn't come to a compromise.
They were too biased to see each other's sides. That's why you need a moderator.
So the issue doesn't.
I know.
That issue doesn't. Really
okay. Do you believe that the moderator is easily swayed by a really good argument?
They could be, but that wouldn't make them a good moderator. Then would it?
Exactly. Yep.
America didn't go into that and be like, "All right, guys, if you guys have a good argument, we're gonna let you take the other's country."
But America didn't go into it not knowing anything about the conflict at all. They just
True,
acted
and we've
unbiased, but
true,
they're not
Yeah,
like
but you're
and that's what
absolutely
we've been
unbiased.
saying.
but this
You've
is
been
an
having the
example.
misconception that
Yeah.
unlabeled, yeah, you've been having the misconception that being unlabeled means you're ignorant or unknowledgeable
It's
on a
because when
topic.
I
You can
asked the
be
guy when I asked him what did he think about Israel, he told me nothing. So
maybe okay,
so I
but he can
exasperated it
be
to if you're not labeling yourself on anything, you're not educating yourself on that topic at all.
not being labeled on one very nuanced political thing going on in the world doesn't mean that you don't have opinions on certain issues. I think if I talked to him about Trump, I think if I talked to him about Biden, he would have very specific opinions on these issues.
Let me ask you a question: Is or maybe this is out of the it's out of the actual discussion, but I don't know. It can. I mean, moderators are biased, though, right? They just try to hide those biases, right?
No, 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 no,
Not
no.
they could, but not
They
usually.
could, yeah,
Not
exactly. They could,
their goal is
but
not
once
to.
again, you're just putting assumptions in. You're putting assumptions in. That's
Yeah,
But
the
yeah, it has
also,
nothing to do with the
but
conversation.
also, but wait, also, doesn't other don't the two sides come in directly with the biasy? If that biasy is so bad to the argument, isn't it really bad that people that are labeled and on those sides do have those biases? Isn't that like the worst part about it?
I agree, the moderator is important, but do you guys actually? So does that defeat my argument that labeling yourself is smart and necessary?
I think so. I think it's just because you're saying that, like, I don't know. I think what it comes down to is that you're saying that like it is very necessary, but what we've seen time and time again is that like it comes to a lot of situations where you do need a moderator because you have too many people that are too set in one way that you need people who can see both sides or try to understand both sides to pull them in more centrist.
Yeah, in the history of Israel and Gaza, has there been a actual peace meeting that has not been done with a moderator?
No. I understand what you mean. Even in anything, you need a mediator in the middle, like a judge. You need in anything, you need a judge. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Okay, so
But
you
so
say
I
it's
agree with
important,
that.
right?
We need a judge, but I didn't understand that that's what you mean by not labeling yourself. That's not what I
Yeah,
understood
I
it
think you
as.
guys had the misconception where I think when you thought he was saying he was unlabeled, it means he was unopinionated, but that's not what he
Yeah,
was saying.
because when I asked him about the most important issue,
Debatably.
he had literally no opinion on it. Not did he tell me that there's no side that's right or wrong. He just told me there's no opinion. I don't know more and more about it. So I was like, I just exasperated, conflicted that with everything
I
he's
mean,
talking
I
about. I
did
guess.
give
Then
you
if
my
you wanted to be
opinion.
more clear,
Hold on. I did give you my opinion. My opinion was that both sides are fucked. That was my
oh, true, he
opinion.
did say that. I was watching.
Yeah, but that's not a real argument. Like, how can I
He's
argue
not trying to
against
make an
that?
my
argument. You
opinion,
asked
though.
him for his
My
yeah, you
opinion.
asked him for
That
his
is
opinion.
my opinion.
If you said, "Give me your detailed response on how you feel Israel is handling themselves in this war," then you could be like, that was a really
Yes.
word soup of an answer.
Yep.
But since you asked
Mm-hmm.
his opinion, he gave you his opinion.
Yep.
So you guys think labeling yourself is not smart at all?
No,
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 no, that's
that's
not
not
it at
entirely true.
all.
That's a
That's
complete
not it at
mischaracterization.
Okay,
all.
at least we got to a point of agreement here in the middle, right in the middle. I agree. We need moderators in debates
And we need
because
both
they can
sides.
hold us to a different standard than both of each other person in the debate, and they can also further the debate forward, and they can also help do conflict resolution for these moments where there's extreme
You're kind
conflict
of pushing. You're pushing
from
a
those
little
two
bit.
sides. So I agree with that, but I still think it's extremely important and. I still believe that like the moderator wouldn't even be existing if like these issues were not I guess what I'm trying to get to is the moderator is necessary, but he's not necessary except when these conflicts appear. And when these conflict appears, the best way to solve these conflicts is to have the most amount of information and not to try to hide and try to stay away from trying to understand the conflict and trying to be too scared to label yourself. But when you do find, but to go in, study, and then when you do find the right solution, don't be scared to label yourself and start talking and arguing with others and try to solidify your position. That's, you know what I mean? Do you guys see where I'm coming from?
I feel like a good way to characterize the entire discussion we just had is I would like to. I just thought about this for a second. Peace can't exist without the moderator or without a moderate side in that argument to moderate it, right? But conflict can, as we see throughout history. Conflict will always exist when there are two sides, but peace will never exist until there's a moderator.
Sure. Yeah. I think you're right. I think moderation is important. No, no, I totally. I mean, I did not link moderation with what we were talking at all about.
Oh, we've gone through
Uh,
like 13 different topics. Yeah, totally.
yeah. I don't know at all. But yeah. I mean, of course, we need moderators.
Yeah,
But
I've
but but
here's all my notes, by the way. As I say, if you can't see, yeah, no, we've gone through a lot. I had to go to a notepad.
I need to start
I like to
doing
take
that,
notes.
Isaac. To be honest, I'm probably gonna take that page
It
after
helps.
you.
Yeah, it helps a lot.
the full plate to eat.
I take it. Hey, listen, Manar does it too. Yeah, that's why he did so good in another debate he was in. I'll give him that.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But hopefully we got into a place where we can agree. I agree. Moderation is important, but for conflict resolution, I still think it's really important to side with a side. Like I said, I'm just gonna clarify my position one last time. I think it's still important to have one side. That way, people can recognize what you are, first of all, then they can actually argue against or with you. They can follow you. Now they can actually create a stance against you, and they can relate to you. Before they couldn't relate to you without having that stance. They couldn't even talk to you, and you were just sitting in the middle. And I guess moderation is
Manar.
important in a conflict,
So
but in real life, it's not.
I can also send out this olive branch, going based off what you said. I think that if you do go ahead and put yourself in a position where you're siding with one opinion, as long as you've been educated enough to like, hey, formulate your own thoughts and everything like that, and you're like, hey, I want to take this stance because I read up on this information, I've seen all sides of the information, I want to take this stance. I think that's when it's most beneficial, probably, where you can have more substantial debates. If you're very educated and like, hey, this is where I want to go. But I think it is dangerous that if you label yourself somewhere without taking education into it. So that's why, like I said, for me in particular, I can't take a stance because I am not educated enough in that topic. If I take more information in, then I could go ahead and maybe start leaning towards one side or another, or hell, I can possibly even make my own stance where I'm like, hey, you know what? Screw pro Palestine, screw pro this, or screw pro that. I am my own thing, and I want to form this because I have taken in all this information, and I want to. This is where I
I just
stand.
have one final question. One final question is so I can understand. Let's say you're the moderator. You have no stance on Israel and Palestine, but in your chat, people are arguing Israel is wrong and Palestine is wrong. How would you be able to solve that conflict?
Just stay out of it.
Be-
It's chat.
because you have no stance.
I mean, it depends what you want to do. I mean, if I really want to take that stance, then I'll go ahead and just have more conversation, pull up stuff that like, hey, like, look at this, and look at this video. We can watch this video together, blah blah, and have a whole conversation. I guess that's a way to do it. Either that or like what Isaac just said. This it's
But
just chat. Like,
I'm trying to see if an unbiased opinion can actually moderate at any point in time at all, or does he need to be prepared? Does he actually need to go in and indulge himself on that topic, or is it something that he can actually moderate immediately? Of course, it's going to be very hard for him to moderate immediately. He actually has to go in further his education a little bit further, listen about the other side. Whereas if my perspective, you already labeled yourself, you already heard the other side, you already heard your side, you already know the best arguments of both sides. See what I mean? But thank you. I really appreciate your discussion. I hear what you're talking about. I do agree. Moderation is necessary. If that's your argument, then you win. But if your argument is actually labeling yourself as smart and necessary, I believe I still have a really strong point on it because it's just sitting in the real world. It's extremely time consuming to just be the moderator of all times, and even actual conflicts that's happening in front of you, you're not going to be able to solve them immediately. It's going to take you a long,
yeah, and I think that's the issue. That's
even if you are the moderator.
Yeah, but I think that's the issue with anything that's going on in the world, right? Is that like unfortunately a lot of this stuff is time consuming because like a lot of people are set either on one side or they're not educated enough. And I mean, I think it's important like moderators there just because like, that's what they're trying to do. They're just trying to be informed on both sides and once again just trying to find some form of compromise because in a compromise nobody wins. That's the number one thing that you got to find out about compromise. Nobody
Yeah.
wins.
True. Yeah. What's the quote? The way you know both sides. did well in a contract negotiation is they both felt like they just got, I don't know if I can
Screwed.
from stream, but yeah.
That's nice. Isaac, any last points?
No, I'm good. My no
All right,
points.
sweet man. Hey, next time, you know what we should talk about? We should talk about subjective or objective morality.
Ooh, that's a
Because
good
it
one.
kind of
I
ties to
love
this.
that stuff right there.
It kind of ties to
Yes.
this, you know?
Honestly, I could get into that right there. That's where I love
All right,
talking
all
about
right.
morality.
Wait, are you subjective or objective? Do you have? Are you religious or no?
I'm not. I'm an atheist.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about this.
Man.
Isaac is gonna have to moderate that.
You don't want me. We've done this debate before.
I mean,
But I can be unbiased if you want me to.
you're gonna have to be unbiased, yeah, because
Yeah,
we
I'm
know
fine with
where
that.
you stand on this issue. All right, sweet. Hey, man, thank you for talking to us, man.
Oh yeah, thank you. This is actually really nice.
All right, sweet. We'll see you around. Take care, brother.
Take care, man. Oh man, that was a roller coaster of emotions right there in the beginning. That was like all over the place. Let me get out of this because I don't want my stuff popping up. There you go. But man, that was woo. Jesus. The terrorist dude who got caught. Yeah, I remember. I'll put it as a center. Oh my god. Did Manar get pissed and leave? No, he didn't get pissed. We pretty much what ended up happening was that like he kind of saw my point of view. I think my main thing that I was just trying to get across is that like you shouldn't jump to one side without being educated enough, because I think that's dangerous, because then it's like you are more susceptible in that instance. Like from then on, you're very more susceptible to want to follow that side, because then you're just like, yeah, like I want to listen to them. But if I stay outside of the bubble of like what's going on, I'm able to take in all the stuff that both sides are saying and then start formulating my own opinions, and maybe I could start taking a stance where it's like, you know what, this side is probably like 80% correct, so I'm gonna go ahead and side with them. They still have things that are wrong, but I want to side with them. But that's where it's going down to. Oh man, that was insane. But that was still nice, because I do like getting into those kinds of topics and like talking and all that kind of stuff. But man, that was intense. I rarely stream. I'm on YouTube. I would post link, but I don't want to promote. It's the name I have here though. Go ahead, man. Yeah. What you can change? For sure. No, go ahead and promote yourself, man. Promote yourself. Go ahead. Honestly, like folks that can really just promote yourself. Just do it. I can't really think. I feel so tired now. That's kind of how I just feel. I'm just so tired. Is Masar a leftist? Am I leftist? No, I'm typically more of a centrist. At least from the poll that I took, from what I can tell, I'm more like a centrist. He's an extremist of Islam. Oh man. Oh, let me see this real quick. Click on this link. We can change. Subscribed.